Jaylin Smith, third round pick out of the University of Southern California, cornerback slash safety slash nickel corner. And the one thing about Jaylin Smith that was surprising to me was when I first turned on the first highlight reel of him, the first time I watched him a couple months ago, it was notable that, man, most of his highlight reel was tackles for a loss, tackles behind the line of scrimmage, plays like that where he pops the ball out. There's a very swarmy nature to Jaylin Smith that is very, very good, but also that he does have limitations in terms of overall speed, athleticism, whatever it might be. And when we look at some of his measurables, we'll see that this was the ultimate in Nick we trust scenario, I think, because there were some people that thought that Jaylin Smith would be a mid to late round pick. The Texans take him in the third round. But if there's one position that I think we can trust Nick Caserio with, or at least if you're inclined to trust Nick Caserio, he's done a hell of a job with defensive backs. And there's a little bit of an element with Jaylin Smith where I almost look at him like he's the cornerback version of Jalen Petrie. And that, man, he can play the slot, but he can come up. He's very willing to come up and play the run. He plays against the run with pretty good leverage. He's got a really good awareness of where he's supposed to fit in the defense, where his fits are, how to use the sideline to his advantage. He always keeps his shoulder upfield in the appropriate spot. I like that a lot. Some of the technique and coverage skill issues that people will point out, it's important to know that he improved over his time at USC. And that this is coming off a year after taking Kalen Bullock, who was raw in regards to, if you compare him to Kamari Lassiter, he was a much rawer prospect. But they did a really good job with him. I think, I don't credit Dino Vasso working with the cornerbacks. And, damn it. Adegoke. I always mess up Adegoke, who works with the safeties. You look at Jaylin Smith, he's played safety, he's played cornerback. I think in the NFL, it's easier to see him playing a nickel cornerback position, playing on the inside, and maybe at times being a slot corner when they need a cornerback at slot corner, more so than when Jalen Petrie is there. Jalen Petrie is a safety slash linebacker more so than a cornerback, and I think he can continue to improve in man coverage, but there's times where when he's up at the line of scrimmage, one-on-one with Devontae Adams or whomever else, we might see some scenarios where it ends up being Kamari Lassiter or a guy like Jaylin Smith if they develop. Yeah, as Forever Royal says, another Petrie. It's like kind of like a different version of Petrie, but the versatility is where that comes in. The swarm mentality is strong in this one. I'm going to play a couple clips of Jaylin Smith before of interviews before we get to a couple of the plays that I really like, just so you can get to know him. This is Drew Doherty immediately after the draft, and Drew always does a great job with these guys. This was Jaylin Smith on meeting with D'Amico Ryans.
Nothing but great vibes. And, my first time meeting him was nothing but great vibes. You could tell how genuine he is as a person. And when you have a conversation with a former player, it's nothing but love. Just understand they have a different sense for the game as you, like just how you have it. Same view, same clear-eyed view. So just talking to him was just great, man. He's super energetic. You could tell he loves the game of football. Being a Bama guy, coming from Bama and stuff like that, it was just great, man. You could tell he has that grit and that hunger, to win. So it's just great to be a part of it.
The one thing where I feel a huge generation gap sometimes, and we saw it with Kamari Lassiter when he was drafted, is that these young guys, they have no concept or clue that there was a time when Nick Saban wasn't the coach at Alabama, because they talk about the Alabama program as if D'Amico must have played for Saban and everything that Alabama was. Like, no, it was a year or two before. D'Amico was there right before Nick Saban got there. But I think it's safe to say that Saban would have really, really liked D'Amico. That'd be the biggest shock in the world if in some other alternate universe, D'Amico had played for Nick Saban and somehow he wasn't a Saban type of guy. Saban would have loved D'Amico the same way that Saban loved Will Anderson. I'm 100% assured of this. I'll fight you if you disagree. One more clip, and this is with some highlights overlaid. But who are you? Drew Doherty asked him. Who are you?
What type of player are you?
I'm a super versatile player. Can play at any position at a very high level. Can fit in the run. Can play excellent man coverage. And can also do a lot on special teams and just be a lot of energy shifter. A great player, selfless player, a team first player. But ultimately, man, just getting a competitor all in one.
Yeah. So all those things are true. Believe all of that. I think that he, the thing I really like about Jaylin Smith is first and foremost, and I should have mentioned this more than 5 minutes into the video. He's played a boatload of special teams, like as a gunner in punt return. Any of these things, like he is going to be all about it. I think Frank Ross is probably going to love him. If you look at the measurables on his mock drafts from mockdraftable.com, you can see where, hey, all right, look, he ran a good 40. Some of the other stuff not quite there. I think it's reflected in his play to a certain degree. Kyle Krabs from the 33rd team has a nice couple little bullet points for each positives. Extensive experience with multiple assignments and alignments, a testament to his big picture comprehension of the scheme. Likeable demeanor, very important. Fitting gaps against the run, as we saw, boosting his nickel outlook. The Jalen Petrie protege, perhaps. 450 plus career special team snaps with notable snaps in all four phases. Negatives: ball production is modest and hindered by efficiency in transitions. He's kind of upright with narrow feet in his back pedal. And again, this is all very coachable stuff. And the fact that he's shown progression and improved in 2024 on a lot of the technical stuff, I think there's room for improvement there, obviously, as long as he works at it. And as we've said, they've got good coaching there in the defensive backfield. Not a big-time striker or effective wrap-up tackler. Missing length as well. That part's intriguing to me because he certainly has a willingness to come up and hit. Some of that might be on the refinement side of things too. And you guys know that I'm hoping D'Amico really emphasizes proper tackling this year. Jalen Petrie got a lot better at it last year. Just became a fundamentally sound, better tackler. But the Texans were one of the worst teams in the league when it came to sheer volume of missed tackles. They got to clean that up. And then unlikely to appeal with any opportunities to play outside due to compressed frame and short punch window. And we're 1 year removed from seeing Kamari Lassiter go in the second round, partly because he didn't have great measurables, and people wonder just how fast is he. I wonder if Jaylin Smith had gone to a program like Georgia, that it might have been different. Like you might have gotten a better and more refined version of him. Same thing you could say about Kalen Bullock. And when Nick was gushing about some of the guys that they took from Iowa State, or why they like guys from Minnesota, or why they like guys about Rutgers, he gushes and gushes about those programs. And yet, having drafted multiple guys from USC, he didn't really gush about USC as much. I think USC does a hell of a job recruiting great talent. And Smith is from Southern California, and I think knows had opportunities to go those other places. He might be a different caliber prospect if he'd had a different experience or was on a different defense in college. I think you could see playing time in our dime package. Yeah, and that's where I start to wonder when you start looking at dime, 6 defensive backs on the field, there's going to be opportunities where the times when perhaps in certain situations when you've got somebody else, a cornerback replacing Jalen Petrie for the slot, but Jalen Petrie's still out there as a dime linebacker. I think he has that potential for more opportunities like that. I read that Frank Ross was one of the people who really wanted us to draft Smith. That tracks. We know this team. We know that Nick Caserio cares about special teams. It's nice. Joe Marciano. Joe Marciano, the old Texans coach, the special teams coach, who had some awesome special teams units for a long time. And then the last few years Marciano was here, the special teams lagged. And I feel like Marciano got a lot of undeserved flack simply because he didn't have enough good special teams players on the team. And I remember talking to Joe long after he was gone from the Texans, and it wasn't about the Texans specifically, but he always said that, defensive-minded coaches tend to care a lot more about special teams than offensive-minded coaches, just as a generalization. And you look at, Marciano, when Capers was the coach, was, yep, there we go. We're good to go. And then Marciano, as he had an offensive-minded coach, and Gary Kubiak, and Kubiak was never all that much into special teams. It kind of started to lag. Then you get Caserio back in the mold, and Caserio comes from a lineage in New England where they really, really care about special teams. If we've seen it start to shift way back over to where they've been either very good or at the very least credible. In their down years, they're credible to very good in their good years. Partly, I think, because Caserio cares about it, and now they have a defensive-minded head coach that helps out a lot. So Frank Ross probably has a louder voice than he perhaps might have in other places. Lassiter had brick hands before he got here too. That, you know what? I'm glad you brought that up. Thank you, because I almost forgot. I've got 3 clips I want to show you. So he's on the outside here, and he's just going to track this receiver all the way across the field. I mean, just maintains really good leverage. Ball ends up being thrown behind the intended receiver. He makes a play on that. This, where he really has a good awareness of where his help is, how to keep proper leverage. So he's got the single high safety here. He's on the outside. He's staying in his hip pocket. And you can see, though, he does use his hands a lot. And a lot of college guys, just like Kamari Lassiter, use their hands. Those guys have to learn how to be a little bit more hands-off. But the nice part in this was when the receiver does turn back out to the outside, he detaches right there. Like, he's not going to keep riding him after the break. Makes a really nice play on the ball. It's not like he can't make plays in coverage. It's just not, he wasn't as productive as a guy that might go in the first, second round traditionally. And then again, up against the run, identifying things in the backfield. And then for people to say that he's not a physical tackler, I get it and I understand and I've seen that, but he has an appetite for physicality. Like, he goes into defensive end mode here. Hands inside, gets the knockback, sheds to the outside, makes a nice wrap-up tackle. So there's a lot to like about him, and I'm intrigued by him. Again, in Nick, I trust when it comes to defensive backs. In D'Amico and the defensive coaches, I think they can get a lot out of him. I just have a hunch. Oh, is somebody saying that Ramsey? Is somebody talking about Jalen Ramsey coming here? I don't think that's going to happen, man. I don't think it's going to happen. Let's see that way. Okay, now you guys are having conversations and I'm not privy to because I can't pay attention to all these. I've been saying I wanted to take a closer look at Jaylin Smith. I'm very intrigued. I think that as long as he continues the progression that he had from college, I don't think the athleticism is nearly as big a knock on him as maybe the testing or otherwise might indicate. He's going to be on the roster, likely at the very least, because I think he's probably going to be a good special teams player. And there is room for growth and a lot of room for upside just with simple technique. All right. I'll catch up with you guys a little bit later today.